Now in this video, we're going to cover the environment setup. So let's go ahead and go into the introduction. So we're going to set up a virtual lab either on the VirtualBox or VMware Workstation Hypervisor, whichever one you choose. Now we're going to have Kali Linux. This will serve as our attacker VM. Now Windows 7 is no longer supported. It's end of life. You won't necessarily see this in the wild. Sometimes you still do if you're working in this industry. Sometimes you see, sometimes they're still out there for some reason. And then Metasploitable 2. So Windows 7 and Metasploitable 2 will serve as our target VMs. Metasploitable 2 is a Linux-based VM. It's made to be vulnerable so that way you can practice and learn the fundamentals of pen testing. So this lab is our playground. It's going to cover the hands-on exercises in this series. And with these VMs and Kali Linux, we're going to create a controlled environment. We're going to have them configured in a NAT network segmented LAN so that way they don't touch anything within our home network if you set it up that way. And then a list of everything that you'll need to get started: virtualization software, ISO files for Kali Linux and Windows 7. We'll have that for you. So the resources needed for lab setup. Metasploitable 2 will show you how to download that and install that. Virtualization software, VM Workstation Player or Oracle VM VirtualBox. Both of those are free. VMware Workstation Pro does cost money though. And then Kali Linux ISO, free. Just a heads up, Kali Linux kind of takes a while to download, so it's about 5 GB in size. I'm not sure, every year it gets bigger and bigger. Windows 7 OVA file. So for the Windows 7, this is going to be a .ova file. So it's a prepped Windows 7 instance already. It's unactivated. So when you log into it, once you get into the exploitation phase, log in with the credentials, you'll see an activation window pop up. You can ignore that. Now the hardware requirements, I'd say at least 16 GB of RAM if you're on a laptop or workstation or whatever. Windows 7 will take about 2 GB of RAM. Kali Linux, I like to allocate 8. Sometimes you can do a little bit less, like 4 to 8. That's a good range. And then Metasploitable 2 will take another 2 GB of RAM. And then the rest you can use on your host PC or whatever you're using to host a virtualization software. And then at least 100 GB of space should be fine. Windows 7 might take a lot. Metasploitable 2, actually they probably won't take that much, maybe 20 GB each. Kali Linux does grow, is dynamically allocated, meaning the more stuff you put on Kali Linux, the bigger the hard drive will get. Now lastly, internet connection for downloading software and updates. So very important. We're going to need that. It's not going to be fun if you have to do it offline. Installing virtualization software. So you need to choose between VMware or Oracle VirtualBox. I'm going to personally use VirtualBox just because it's less intimidating. It's real easy to grasp as a beginner. You can still follow along if you're using VMware Workstation. Both hypervisors are similar. VMware Workstation has a little bit more features. And now in the next videos that you'll see, we're going to guide you on installing Kali Linux via VirtualBox and VMware. So we're going to install VirtualBox, VMware. There'll be 2 separate videos. And then on top of that, once you have the hypervisor installed, we'll show you how to install Kali Linux too. So it's a 2-in-1 video essentially. Now, setting up Windows 7 VM, we'll get the Windows 7 OVA file, and then we'll create a VM, and we'll walk through the entire installation process, setting that up and all that good stuff. Next, installing Metasploitable 2. We're going to download Metasploitable 2 and then import it into VirtualBox. It's really great for when you're just starting out in the pen testing industry or cybersecurity. Just kind of learn the fundamentals and go from there. Now, configure your network settings. Once the VMs are installed, we'll take a look at the network portion where we're going to set them up in a NAT network configuration. The reason we want to use NAT or network address translation is because for NAT, it allows our VMs to go out to the internet through the host machine's IP. So if our PC is hosting these VMs, which is hosted on VirtualBox, for example, those VMs will use our host PC running, let's say, Windows 11, and it'll use the IP of that to reach out and get updates and software packages and all that stuff. This mimics how devices usually connect to the internet, and it keeps our network lab isolated and secure. So this segment of the network is secure, doesn't touch anything else, especially if we have other things on our home network. To keep it short, the NAT network configuration will allow our VMs to access external networks for updates and tools without exposing our host systems to unnecessary risks. And then final checks, we'll go through the final checks and tips. For example, taking snapshots of our VMs, something we can revert back to in case we break our VM from the exploitation phase. So that'll be it. Follow along in the next videos to set up our lab.